It wasn't over yet. The blue people were still not satisfied with just watching, so they cut the ropes binding the slave and directly pushed him off the sheer cliff. At that moment, the general walked over, noticed that one slave was missing, and immediately understood that it was his subordinate's doing. He pulled out a small knife and warned that if another one went missing, he would use it in place of the slave. Faced with the general's authority, the young man trembled in fear and could only hurry along with the remaining slaves. Soon, they passed by an abandoned village, and suddenly, there was the sound of trees being chopped down in the forest. The next second, a towering tree slowly fell, but fortunately, everyone managed to dodge in time and avoided being crushed. Ahead, they encountered a little girl. The little girl, whose mother had died from the plague, cried out for help, but the men ruthlessly pushed her away with a wooden stick, having long lost any sense of compassion. As the girl stubbornly tried to get closer, they struck her hard in the chest. However, she didn't cry. Instead, her expression turned serious as she stared intently at the male protagonist, Ahu, for a long time, foretelling everything that was about to happen. The eerie behavior of the girl sent chills down everyone's spine, but they didn't pay much attention and continued on their way. Soon they arrived outside the Mayan city. The first place they passed was a quarry. The lime in the sky made the ground snowy and the air was filled with a suffocating smell. The slaves who worked for a long time often vomited blood due to the lime, but no one here would care about their death. After that, they came to a lifeless village which was full of filth. Countless people died of plague infection. Across the village was a prosperous town. This place was completely different from what I saw before. People worked in an orderly manner. They wore imitation and woven clothes and erected exquisite palaces made of stones. Then they took off the books on the slaves and sold them at a marked price. The men were painted with a layer of blue dye, which was used as a sacrifice. Then, they were brought into the Maya, where a grand sacrifice was being held. This was at the end of the Maya civilization. Under the theocracy, the Maya royal family and priests attributed everything to the dissatisfaction of the gods. In order to show their loyalty to the gods, they blindly sacrificed living people. They hoped that the gods would forgive the long-term slaughter caused by the plague, turning the entire altar steps black. As the bodies of the slaves rolled down, the Maya people below appeared unusually excited, while the nearby slave offerings trembled in fear. One of the offerings was the male protagonist of this story. At that moment, he was utterly despondent, being pressed down onto the altar.